Welcome to the last episode of this mini-series where I'm trying my damn hardest to get my first deep tube as an average surfer. This was shot during my last week in Indo, and that particular session was my last opportunity at getting that barrel as the swell died out after that. I did get a few cover-ups and some sweet visions in this session, but the truth is I did not get the tube I was looking for, and I'm back in France as you are watching this video, so I officially did not reach the goal I had set for myself with this trip. And as much as I would like to blame the waves for it, I think ultimately it just came down to a lack of skill, because they undeniably were some good opportunities out there during this month, and I was simply not able to make the most of it. With that being said though, I think I have made a lot of progress in my positioning and commitment to the tube, because before going on this trip, I surfed a very slabby beach break at home with a friend with perfect tubes and only made one. We got another session right when I came back in slightly worse conditions, and I made 5 or 6 like the one I got before leaving. So even though that goal was not achieved, I am still very happy with the way it turned out. This was honestly a nugget of a session with only 2 other guys out for the most part and a perfect wind. I caught 24 waves in about an hour and a half. The swell was slightly on the weaker side though, so the tubes were pretty pinched despite the wave being perfectly shaped. At the start, I was often too far in front of the section, but I quickly adjusted my positioning and started getting some better visions. I also started avoiding those very peaky waves and tried to pick the longer lines. I figured I would never get a deep tube on a peaky section. I needed that wave to stretch out as much as possible. And this was the first good wave of the session. It stood up beautifully and I was perfectly positioned, but I think I was slightly too deep and maybe needed one pump to get away from the foam ball. The tube was also tiny, but I'd rather focus on what I can improve technically. These are the type of waves I needed to catch, with a long wall allowing some time in the tube. The goal was to either get closed out on or barely make it. That's when you know you got a good one. But those waves were very rare, so in between the bigger sets, anything is good enough to keep practicing and sharpening your skills. That was another really good wave, but unfortunately I was too late. It kind of took me by surprise. I paddled as hard as I could out the back, but it was not enough to get a good start on this one. Though if I had continued to paddle out, I might have been right in position for the next one, which was also really good. This guy got so many tubes. He is a professional longboarder from Japan and he would just never miss. We had an agreement that he was only going left while I was only going right, which made for a perfectly shared peak. My wave was also good, but I wasn't deep enough and I couldn't stall hard enough to be in there. These tubes were short, so you either would be straight in them from the start or you would have no chance on a small day like that. The next wave was also really good, and probably better than the one I picked, but there wasn't really any exit on that tube. Not exactly sure what happened there, but I think I just bailed because I knew it was going to be way too small. No need to risk hitting the reef for a wave like this. I got up slightly too soon and got hung up in the lip on this one, but the wave was very small, so I don't think I really missed anything there. That is an interesting wave. I think I nailed the takeoff and slipped under the lip well, but I did not shift my weight forward soon enough and got pinched in there. Okay, so this was by far my best wave of the session, and I think the only thing missing there was a good pump before pulling in. I didn't even stall, but I was slightly too deep to make the section. The other guy got so kegged on the left, and I think we picked the right one because the next wave wasn't nearly as good. I must say I was a bit bummed on not making this one because I think I was very close and the wave was perfect, by that day's standards anyway. Look at this guy, making it look extremely easy, and yes, he made it out of that one too. I was on the next wave of the set, and although the wave was perfect, and that I think my positioning was really good, somehow I couldn't hold my line in there, and went straight through the back of the wave. I got a weird cover up on this one. I think I could have gotten a longer one, but I got thrown out of balance and had to straighten out. The next wave of this set was also quite good, but I definitely think I got the better one. I had a perfect takeoff and pump sequence at the start, but again, did not hold my line through that section and punched out the back of the wave. I think I really need to drop this habit because there were a few waves in this session that I might have made if I had held my line a little longer. By the way, yes, this guy also made it out on this one. And who doesn't love a perfectly shared wave with both guys getting barreled on each side of it? Doesn't get much better than this, really. And I do not know why on earth I did not go on that next wave because it looked like I was well positioned and that thing even spat. So I really should have taken my chance. Same thing here, I should have taken my chance. I was right behind a good section, but I pulled out. Like I said, it's hard to tell if the tube was roomy enough, but you never know until you go. Sometimes it is obviously too small, but I would say this set was makeable if you have the right technique and are able to make yourself really small. There is one thing I need to start trying, and it is tucking my front arm inside of my front knee. Brett Barley did an amazing video on how to make tiny barrels, and he explained this technique very well. You can fit in some ridiculously small tubes if you get it right, and I highly recommend that you guys give that a watch. You will most likely be blown away by the barrel he's able to make with this technique. The shape of the wave during that session was as good as I ever saw it there. Yes, the size was lacking, but come on. Imagine surfing that with just 2 other guys. That's the dream. And Another cover up for me, but let's have a look at this wave first. Bit of a nosedive at the start, but to be fair, that wave looked really fast, so I'm not sure he would have been able to make it. I was on the next wave, well positioned, right on the peak, but apparently not deep enough, because even though I did get a head dip, I think I could have gotten a much longer vision. Maybe I should have stalled harder at the start, and that could have put me right in the spot. The bodyboard guy more than made up for his last wave with this really long and roomy tube. Too bad a section came down on him at the end there. And he got straight into another one, much smaller, but he got in, got a vision, and got out. As far as I'm concerned, that is a perfect wave. I got stuck in the lip at the start on this one, so I tried to make up for it with a big pump, but I would say this one was obviously way too small. No chance I would have made it even with a perfect positioning. Another one for the bodyboard guy. That was a really good wave, but I would say he got a taste of my ongoing struggle with being slightly in front of it. I was on the next wave, but it broke a little wide and I ended up being way too deep. That's a bummer because the inside section looked really good. Japanese legend, almost backdooring the right on his backhand. Not a deep tube, but his timing and flow were truly remarkable. He was riding big board too, which for him probably felt really nimble coming down from the longboard. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Very peaky and smaller wave this time. Really hard to get a vision on those unless you were almost taken off behind the peak like the Japanese guy did in the previous clip. At this point, the swell was dying out pretty fast and the onshore was coming. The wind had started way out to sea and the lines coming through were starting to look a little funny. It was still surfable, but the conditions were deteriorating fast. This wave looked a lot like the previous one, and I only caught 2 more waves after that one before it got completely blown out. Another really nice tube for the bodyboard, making it look too easy. Made me feel like I was only there to bring some sense of realism back in that session. I'm not sure I can even call this a head dip. I think the lip just hit me as I was straightening out. I should have held my line through the tube though. One last solid vision for the bodyboard before the conditions changed. It is really hard to tell from this angle, but the wave had already gotten a lot more sectiony out there with a weird ripple coming from the left of the screen, completely messing up the swell lines. I was able to catch one last wave before it got out of control, and it wasn't even a good one. But overall, I would say I was very happy with this session. Considering how small and tricky those tubes were, I think I did great, got a few head dips, and I think my positioning improved from the previous videos. I was taken off deeper, had a better stance on my board, and a little bit more control with my stalls. It wasn't enough to get me out of the few really good ones I caught, but I could feel that I was much more confident on the wave. Like I said at the start of the video, I was able to make a lot more tubes coming back from this trip than before going, so that just speaks for itself really. The next step will be to pull it off with the camera rolling. Oh, fuck me. So there we go. Now the wave had gotten messy. Not bad yet, but much worse than it was. And it was only going to get worse than that. It took me way too long to even catch this one, so I didn't even bother standing up. I just barely rode it in. I hope you guys enjoyed this little series. Please let me know in the comments if you liked it, and if you have any advice for me to unlock that first proper barrel. This was also the last video of this Indo trip, and just like I said when I came back from Morocco, I could not wait to be back home. These trips always make me realize how lucky I am to be able to call the empty beach breaks that you see in videos my home break. And if you want to get a taste of it yourself, then click the link in the description and book your spot. I'll take you to an uncrowded peak and I'll film all of your waves. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.